I'm honoured and pleased to have an Arsenal legend in the building, David Seaman, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Dean, can you hear me?
No way.
It was larger than life in every way, and he was a hero, not just with the fans, but with the players as well. They all loved him.
He was that good that in training, Steve Bold and Tony Adams, that he would embarrass them and they would try and kick him to slow him down a bit, and they couldn't catch him.
The ponytail on the head.
I was born with a tash. I remember seeing an Arsenal team celebrating getting fourth. Yeah. And I was like,
talk to them,
dropped
David.
quite a little way here. You know, we've done what we did. It's their time to go and create their own history.
Hi, and welcome along to AFTV for the Starting 11 show. First of all, I've got to say, make sure you check out that David Seaman interview. It's going to be out on Tuesday. Absolutely brilliant. Honestly, when you watch it, fantastic guy, fantastic stories, absolutely brilliant. Out on Tuesday. Make sure you check it out here on AFTV. We are joined here by my esteemed panel. Julian's in the building. Lee's in the building. We're looking ahead to the big one today. It's Arsenal taking on Brighton of Albion. At home, no more transfer news. It's down to the nitty-gritty. Last game before the international break, which is a bit crazy that we've, third game into the season, we're into an international break already. And of course, Arsenal will want to win this game and go into that international break on maximum points. But what it does pit today, it pits two teams that have won all three of their games so far. Won both of their games so far. This is the third game. Both teams unbeaten. It's ain't going to be an easy game, Lee.
No, not at all. I expect a hard game. I do expect a tough game, but I expect us to win it. Just coming down here on the train just now with a couple of my mates, all of a sudden, I'm looking forward to the Emirates games now. There were a few seasons ago, I don't know what's going to happen and all that, but highly confident, and so we should be, because what we've done in the last couple of years, but got to nail these home games. Got to nail them.
12:30 kickoff. Confident?
Yeah, I am confident, but then I haven't really looked at Brighton much because I got overexcited about the transfer window, which went on slightly later than I anticipated yesterday.
So you ain't done a research then?
I started to do a little bit of research before, and the more I look into Brighton, the more, I wouldn't say scared that I am, but I look at them as a really good team now because,
got to watch that Billy Gilmore in midfield, Julian.
No, he's actually signed from Napoli.
Yeah, but you only knew that because Lee told you that just before we came on.
No, he told me that Gilmore had signed a 4-year contract with Brighton. I should mention that they'd reinforced. And I did look. I've done a little bit of research, but the first thing I usually do is look at recent form. And I look at, at the beginning of the season, you normally look at the form towards the end of the season, which I did with Villa. And if you look at Brighton's form at the end of last season, it was almost identical to Villa. That they won one out of their last 10 games. They literally fell off a cliff. But since this new manager's come in, they won every single one of their friendlies. They only played 4, and not all the friendlies were against the best opposition, but they still won them. And then this season, yes, they've won their 2 Premier League games, but they also got a 4-0 win in midweek against Crawley. So they've won 7 in a row. No draws, 7 straight wins under this manager.
Yep, and they beat Manchester United last week, which was a big win for them. They went away to Goodison on the first game of the season, and, always going to be a hostile place to go to, and got a very impressive 3-0 win there. They're no mugs. We did beat them home and away last season, but they have been known to come to the Emirates in the past and beat us.
3-0.
One of the few teams. So this will not be an easy game. They've got a new young manager. They're going to be up for it. As I said, they're confident. A big win last week for them against Manchester United. So we're going to have to be on it today, Lee.
Yeah, knocked us out the cup a couple of years ago as well, didn't they? Listen, I'll be really honest, very, very impressed with them against Everton. Even the Man United game, they come back there, but there was a spell in that game when Man United took over, and in fact, freak goal that wasn't given goes on. Man United go on and win that game. So there was a stage of that game where I thought they were there for the taking. But in saying that, they dug in, and then they've got players in the top half of the field that can hurt you, as it proved. So if we give up a couple of really good chances against Wolves. Can't afford that to do that today. We've got to be right on it at the back, defend really, really well, and be lethal up front. Listen, this is a massive game. It's in the context of everything, you need to go into those, after the international break, we know what we've got coming. But it's a home game. And for me, it's so important that we win every single time we play at the Emirates.
And it's, listen, the team's on a high at the moment. A really fantastic win last week away at Aston Villa. We were at the game, and that was a great win. Now we go into a 12:30 kickoff. And do you know what? It's funny because I was chatting to someone yesterday going, 12:30 kickoff. Boy, we've actually got a great record when it comes to 12:30 kickoffs. Do you know what it is? I know you know your stats and all that.
No, I don't.
What? I thought you would have researched
well,
this one.
I could have an educated guess that, it depends over what time period are we talking?
Well, over the last 10 games.
Over the last 10 games.
We've done in our 12:30 kickoffs?
I would say that we've won 7 of them.
You?
I reckon we won all of them.
Oh, you're close. 9 of our last 10 Premier League games kicking off at 12:30 on a Saturday, right? We've won. Winning each of the last 4, scoring 3+ in each. So we've got a good record in those 12:30 kickoffs. You know what I mean? And yet still I was talking to that guy yesterday, 12:30 kickoff. But actually we do pretty well in them 12:30 kickoffs.
And how does that compare with our usual stats from other kickoff times?
I don't know that.
Well, that's quite important, isn't it? Because it could be that we'd had 10 out of 10 from the last. Because you can look, so does it make a difference then?
I don't know. I'll tell you what it does do. It can make or break your weekend.
I know, and it's early. It comes early. You know what I mean? Every United fan can tell you that, because then you've got to suffer the whole weekend, watch everybody play that. And of course, you know what I mean, yesterday it was the transfer window closing, and we now know what the players are going to be for the new season. Let me just give a recap onto that. Of course, on deadline day, we signed Raheem Sterling on a season-long loan from Chelsea, said to be for a wage of £100,000 a week, not his full reported £350,000 a week he's getting. Obviously, we signed Calafiori a little bit earlier in the window. We signed Mikel Merino, even though Merino's now injured, and they say he could be out for about 6 weeks with this injury that he picked up in training, which was caused by Gabriel falling on him. But we signed Merino. Raya was made a permanent deal, and we signed Neto yesterday as well. Let's not forget that Neto from Bournemouth as the backup goalkeeper. So those are the signings that Arsenal made. Some of the big outgoings that really stand out. Reece Nelson went to Fulham on loan. Fulham got half of the Arsenal all side, you know what I mean? But he went to Fulham on loan yesterday. Eddie Nketiah joining Crystal Palace on a permanent deal worth £30 million. Aaron Ramsdale going to Southampton for £30 million, and Emile Smith-Rowe as well at Fulham, £35 million. The transfer window, what do you give it now? It's all done and dusted. Out of 10,
I'm going to give it a 7, and because I think, if I be really honest, we have strengthened in all areas now. Unfortunately, the Marino one getting injured is disappointing, but that ain't nobody's fault. I look up front. We was going on about we needed somebody up front, an extra body, attacking wise. I've always said I felt that it was always going to be a wide player, because Havertz is the main man up front, whether you like it or whether you don't. I'm a big fan of his, so I think he was always going to be number one up front. And I just felt that I don't know what Sterling's going to prove. I know, like, people rate him. I've never been a massive lover of his, but he's played at Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea, three of the biggest clubs in this country. So at the end of the day, now he's gone to the biggest out of all of them, So at the end of it, 4 top managers or clubs can't be all wrong, can they? So, and I think what I do like about him coming in, my mate said this today, which is a real good point, is that he must be now, if he's not hungry to really prove a lot of people wrong, then there's something wrong with him. He's got something to prove. not only for Chelsea and that, but England as well.
Mm.
So he's had a real couple of digs at him over the last sort of 6 months. Now, if you're really at it and motivated, what an incentive and it could work in our favour. This.
Yeah, you saw his video, like his sort of, welcome to Arsenal video. He said, a lot of people talk. He was almost talking like, I've got a point to prove, and I'm going to prove a lot of people wrong. I mean, what do you make of that signing?
I'm really happy with it. I mean, yesterday when we did the Invincibles, the only thing that I kind of, admitted to, acknowledged where there was a weakness was that I thought we were weaker in the forward line. But now, having that signing, I think of what we've lost to what we've gained, it's net positive. And I think in every area of the pitch we've strengthened. But the other aspect of it is, and I read an interview that Edu did quite recently, and he said, look, whether you like it or not, there's two elements to a transfer window. There's the footballing side and there's the commercial side. Now, I've always appreciated the commercial side, and not all fans do, that, like it or not, this is a business. And when you look at the Sterling deal of what we've sold and what we've gained back in from revenue, and then the outgoing, the fact that we've got him on £100,000 a week, which still is an extortionate amount of money, but then Eddie was on £100,000 a week.
120, someone claims.
Yeah, so yes,
Reece Nelson was on 100.
Yep. So I think from a commercial perspective, it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a good window. I'd give it a 7. I couldn't get my head around yesterday. Some people, I even seen a couple of people here saying 3 out of 10 for. I honestly,
even there they're saying it's a 3.
Well, there's still a few people, right? And
really?
Yesterday there was a lot of people, and I couldn't get my head around it, right? I was driving home last night, and on some of the radio stations they're saying, right, let's rate every Premier League team's window, and Arsenal came third. They rated West Ham as the best window, second Manchester United, because they did get in a lot of the players in positions that they needed. Arsenal's window was third. Right, they were going on the radio how great a window it was. They were saying, all right, maybe they didn't get a striker, but they still score a lot of goals, Arsenal, and they bought in a player that's better than the players that's gone out. Sterling, he's a better player. I love Reece Nelson, but he's better than Reece Nelson, isn't he?
Yeah, and
he's much better player.
He's a good finisher as well.
He can cover right across the front three. He's an experienced player. He's won everything in the game, more or less. A vastly experienced player with a point to prove. And he's played under Mikel Arteta again. It's a no-brainer, £100,000 a week. Then you've got Calafiori, who's one of the standout players in the Euros at the back, and Marino, who's one of the standout players in the midfield. It's been a good window. And when you think of the players that have left, Eddie Nketiah, a lot of players that have left hardly played last season. Eddie Nketiah hardly played. Reece Nelson hardly played. He's gone on loan. Emile Smith-Rowe, we all loved him, but he hardly played last season. I got 35 million for him, 30 million for Eddie Nketiah. Aaron Ramsdale hardly played. They got 25 million for him. It's been a good window. They've brought in a guy £100,000. 2 loan deals yesterday. They didn't. Now, what's going to be for me is in the future what they do with that money, because they have made savings, because they were going to buy a goalkeeper. They didn't get the keeper that they wanted in Joan Garcia. They bought in Neto, experienced keeper from Bournemouth, but it's a loan, just a season-long loan, so they don't have to spend no money there. So I guess they'll go again in that goalkeeping department next season, right? And of course, Sterling's not costing them any fee either. But, Chelsea 2 seasons ago, paid nearly £50 million for Sterling, had him on 350 grand a week. We got him for nothing. And he's on 100 grand a week. It's great business. And I look at Arsenal's squad now. Goalkeepers, Raya and Neto. The defence, Saliba. Kieran Tierney is still here because they couldn't move him on because he was injured, but he's still here. Ben White, Gabriel, Timber, Kivior, who they kept. They didn't want to move him on despite loads of clubs in Italy wanting him. Zinchenko and Tomiyasu and Calafiori. That squad depth at the back is absolutely insane. And when you've got the amount of games we're going to be fighting on so many fronts. That's really impressive. Midfield, Thomas Partey, Odegaard, Jorginho, Marino in that midfield. So that's a decent midfield. Up front, Declan Rice in there as well, let's not forget. And up front now you've got Havertz, Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, Trossard, and also Raheem Sterling.
Wanyeri's in there as
Right?
well.
Oh, sorry, and I forgot Wanyeri. And you got Wanyeri. That's a good squad. You've got like 2 really good players in every single position. That's good squad depth.
I think
The only thing is, sorry to cut you, Lee. The only area where I feel we still lack is that striker. That striker, that absolute killer up front is the position that I still feel we lack. But you can't get everything, can you? All in one window.
I think Shinchenko will probably be going into pushing into midfield a bit now with Mourinho outside. Like, just for the and one other thing there is that Julian was saying very interesting. We haven't really spent a lot of money this summer. Next summer we're going to have to spend a lot because we got.
Well, we do. We say we haven't spent a lot of money. We have, but with the players that we've moved out, because we still spent 40 odd. What's in actual cash terms, we spent nearly 100 million.
Yeah, but like
because
next year, next year is going to be a lot because you've got Thomas Partey who's out of contract.
Yeah,
you've got Jorginho out of contract, so you've got to bring in 2 midfield players. So without getting anything back, and also maybe a forward. So, but defensively they haven't got to spend.
And a bit like what you said in their bringing in of players this summer, they'd be thinking about that.
Maybe that's one of the reasons.
They'll be thinking about that. So maybe they're thinking, keep a bit of that money back because we're going to have to go big next year because Partey's going to be gone. And I mean, so
yeah, but you're still looking at it in isolation of one transfer window. If you look since 2020 to 2023, they spent 600 million euros and they only brought in 140 million euros. So maybe from commercially this transfer window, they're trying to even it up. They can't carry on spending. You look the alternative against our opponents today, they were the second highest transfer spend in Europe, 195 million.
And they went spent big, right?
So they spent
really
big.
Spent a lot of money.
But what they've done in the last 3-4 years, they've made a lot of money. So, they're evening it up. They're starting to invest in the money that they've brought in, whereas we've spent a lot of money since 2023, and we didn't need a lot of players in.
And the good thing is now this is our second year now in the Champions League. So that like the last season, it was only the 1 year. I don't even think it was on the books, was it? But now it'd be on the books, and so it makes it a little bit more strong. Look, financially, we know that we're going to be in a good position to go for players next season. But at the end of it, would you say there's only one department that we've not strengthened, that we've probably gone weaker, which is the goalkeeping one, which, as we said, hopefully that won't be used. But I think defensively we've got cover in every position there. I think midfield, I just think maybe with Mourinho being out now, we're a little bit. But as I say, I think like Julian alluded to it yesterday, there probably is a couple of players from the defence that can move into the midfield, so that could happen.
Well, you've got enough. Remember, you've got Jorginho there as well. So you know what I mean. You've got Jorginho. You've got a lot of midfielders there.
You can have
Thomas Partey.
Well, I'm worried
Jorginho,
about the Thomas Partey thing. I'm still.
But then if Thomas Partey's not there, you can have Ben White there. You can have Jorginho there. You've got Rice there.
But you've got Jorginho. You've got Jorginho there. When he came in last year, didn't let us down.
Potentially, you could have Calafiori there. There's enough players that could fill in.
Yeah.
I mean, that position to me is not one I'd worry about.
I'm not worried about that, and Marino will be back. I mean, so let's get some comments. Lucas Brazzi, he says all these fan channels with their cheap PR because of exclusive and freebies. You're not talking about us because we don't get no freebies, right? Or that many exclusives. So Edu fumbled. It's a 3 out of 10 transfer window. Brighton, West Ham, Aston Villa did a madness. It's not a 3 out of 10 window, and it's not just about doing we don't need to do a madness. We don't need to. You just heard the squad. We don't need to do a madness. The teams that do the best transfer windows are teams that have already got a good squad already and just need to add in certain areas. And I think we've done that. The only area, as I said, I would have loved to have seen us bring in a world-class striker. But you tell me who that world-class striker who is available right now was.
And who does he replace?
Yeah.
Who does he replace?
See, he's just looking. I think some people, when it comes to the transfer window, they just want to see.
When they say 3 out of 10,
7,
explain why
I don't know.
3 out of 10.
But they want to see 6, 7 signings like what Chelsea do. Now, how has that worked for Chelsea over the last few years? They've ended up being an absolute mess. Yeah, it might be exciting. We have Felix and we've got Jadon Sancho and that. But then come tomorrow when that manager now has to select these players, it's a conundrum. Then people get vexed. You know, certain players, why am I not starting? And I mean, we're even seeing that already in Arsenal's team. And people are saying the squad's not big enough.
I've had arguments with mates about this, and they turn around and say, like, let's bring in Jokovic, whatever his name is, 80 million. I think he's 86 million.
86 million release clause, which they would not drop.
Right, let's bring him in. Right, and they refuse. That's the they were not going to go.
Never seen him play.
So this there. Yeah, right, bring him in. And I go, well, who are you going to drop? They go, Havertz. Why Havertz? From January to May, he's been like better than any of those.
German international, although he plays at the highest
He's
level.
not a killer, but the way Arsenal play and all that, he suits Arsenal's play.
Yeah.
Very, very, you know. So
he hasn't really scored this season as well.
Just drop him. And you think, like, well, he was fantastic for us last season.
Because they don't understand football, and they don't understand the commercial element of it, and they also don't understand the tactics that if you have a team that's settled, you don't want to rip it apart. I mean, there was nothing fundamentally wrong with Arsenal over the last few seasons. Manchester City happened to be absolutely extraordinarily good.
Yeah,
we came up a little bit short.
Well, we'd have loved to have got a striker in. A super chat here. Sonny says, Robbie, big up from Tampa, Florida, pal. Big up to you. He says, big fan. I'm tired of these negative fans. It was a good window. We cleaned up well and our bench has improved big. Plus, we got the January window. We can buy well then, like when we got Trossard. And Ikapeng says, keep the same tune when goals dry up and injuries. Well, that's why you got a squad. Yeah. And we just explained that, you know, that's why you've brought in a Raheem Sterling. We're all moaning and saying what happens, quite rightly so, if anything happens to Saka. Well, if anything happens to Saka now, you can play Raheem Sterling there. That's what we wanted, isn't it?
And Jesus can play there as well.
And Jesus is actually, you know, we do actually have two strikers in Jesus and Havertz. I think people are forgetting that as well. We're waiting on the teams to come out. The teams this season are said to be coming out a little bit earlier at, 1 hour and 15 minutes before the game. So we should be getting the team very, very soon.
About now.
Suj says, big up Robbie, Lee and Julian. He says, I just feel that we are slightly weak up front. I can't think of what we do if Jesus, Kai and Saka are out. Well, listen, if all three of those are out, it's not good news, you know what I mean? But there is still Trossard who can, you know, play in that striker position. There are options that Arsenal can play and deploy in those areas. I remember last week, you know, some people saying we didn't have a good squad. We did. I can see the Brighton team's out. The Brighton team, by the way, is out. Verbruggen, Dunk, Milner, João Pedro, Minter, Welbeck, Baleba, Mitoma, Van Heck, Veltman and Hinchelwood. That is their starting lineup. So the Brighton team is out. I'm just waiting on the Arsenal team right now, but the Brighton team is out. And the Arsenal 11 is out. And the Arsenal 11 to play today is this. It's Raya, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber starts, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Trossard and Havertz. Trossard and Havertz. So no place in the starting lineup for Martinelli. The little rant last week, lack of celebration for Trossard has worked. And he starts the game against his former club. And Timber keeps his place in the starting lineup. Guys, let's get your immediate reactions to the team.
No problem with it, like, you know. But listen, I would have given Martinelli another go, one more go. I think that I would have done that.
Why?
But I just think because I think like Brighton play a little bit of a higher line, it might have been there. And I also think if he's your main man, you back him. But
Who said he's the main man?
Well, because he's playing the last couple of games. And
well, he ain't no more the main man, is he?
You know, listen, you know, he doesn't get the same treatment as other players in the team, as we know. But
what's he talking about?
But
he's been starting.
Yeah, this last couple of games.
And then he started the last couple of games.
Yeah, but there's other players
delivered, and then the guy that's come in his place.
That is the thing. Like,
hold on, wait a minute, because you know I know you guys love Martinelli just like I do, but the last couple of games he's played, everybody's been saying he's been pretty poor.
He hasn't been poor.
The guy that's come on in his place has scored goals.
I actually watched the game last week. He wasn't as bad as what I actually thought he was, but what the difference between him at this moment in time than other guys in the team, because is that Trossard come on and just was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Exactly.
And
So, you know.
But I'm going to say this now, fine margins. If you go back to that game, the first thing he had to do in that game, Trossard, he messed up when Kozza put it across the ball. If he was sleeping on that, if that goes in, it could have been completely different for him.
But it didn't.
But it didn't. Fine margins. He come out then and was sensational.
I think he deserves to start.
Yeah, I think on that 30 minutes that he come, I do think he does deserve to start. But
so why didn't you just?
But
a minute ago,
I would
you said
on that foot. But I would have, you know, what I mean,
he deserves to start. Now he don't deserve to start.
You have to look at the opposition, and I think Lee was quite right. If you look at the way that the Brighton play, they play an unbelievably high line a lot of the time, which creates space behind, which is perfect for Martinelli. But saying that, I mean, I didn't think Martinelli played that badly last week. It was almost like a case of, you know, I was given at home a can to open, and I couldn't open it, and I was pulling, and then my girlfriend got it and just opened it really easily. Now, it's not that she's stronger than me, it's that I loosened it up, and it just appeared that she just opened it. And what Martinelli did last week,
good analogy.
Yeah,
Like that.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
That he ran at them, he tired them out. So when Trossard came on, there was a bit more space, and then as soon as it was slightly fortunate, it was an excellent finish, but the goal we were slightly fortunate with because it was set up by probably their best player. The finish was excellent, but once Villa were 1-0 down, they had to come out, so it opened space up.
Listen. We all love Martinelli. Yeah, didn't have a good game last week. Didn't get one cross in. There was actually one cross he put in that was a decent cross. Was it to Havertz? I think.
Declan Rice played well the last 2 games.
He's played better than Martinelli. He should have had an assist last week for a goal.
Well,
if he launched it over the bar.
Yeah.
Right. He's not played well, and then the guy's come on.
He's not played
badly. The
badly,
guy who's come on in his place has played well.
Yes.
Right. There was people where I sat last week. They were having a go at Martinelli. Even at half time, saying we should take him off.
There's a very lot of negative fans out there, isn't there?
Well, I'm telling you, for me, he didn't have a good game last week. He had a lot of there was one time where he went sprinting down the line, just run out of play. He didn't have a good game. He had a bit of a shocker last week. I have to admit, right? And I'm a Martinelli fan.
Oh,
and it's right. It's right.
It
is right that I know with him because I sit next to him. Right, he's the Martinelli fan club. Right, Martinelli can't do nothing wrong in his eyes, but he didn't have a good game last week. And I think it is right to start Trossard.
I'm not
start a player.
We're not arguing with that.
Yeah,
we're not arguing.
You did. You both sort of said, "Well, you know, you
asked us a question.
You said
I would have given him another game.
You said when it's other players. You said when it's other players, they don't get the same treatment. You said something like that.
I do think that. I think if Saka has 2 bad games, right, he'll continue to play.
But he doesn't normally have to.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Even the first couple of games,
Martinelli.
He hasn't been on fire, but he's scored a goal and an assist.
I've seen Martinelli play excellently, scoring 2 goals and still come off.
I didn't think Saka was electric.
Say nothing to that.
Hold on. I didn't think Saka.
Got to answer my question.
I didn't think Saka was electric last week, but he had an assist. He's having an effect on the game.
Of course.
Martinelli didn't. I mean, if you looked at the stats, you looked at the stats after the game, they're pretty horrific. So, you know, let me just go through the subs, by the way.
One
second. On the bench, Setford. Right? Setford on the bench.
We've got no Neto.
Right. Well, Neto wasn't registered in time, so he couldn't think.
And
so
Ramsdale's gone.
Kivior, Calafiori, Zinchenko, Luis Skelly, Jorginho, Salah's on the bench, right? Our Salah.
Oh, I like Salah.
Right? Wanyeri and Martinelli. That is Arsenal's bench to play the game. And once again, Raya in goal, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Trossard, and Havertz. So that is the team that is going to be played today. The point you was going to make.
Well, you asked me a question, who would I have started? And I was telling you about the reasons why I would have started Martinelli potentially, but I'd still actually, if today I would go for Trossard because of the form that he showed, but also because it was...
What are you moaning for?
I'm not moaning. I was just kind of giving a full explanation of why I would play Trossard, but it's not that clear cut. There is arguments to play Martinelli, but the thing is with Trossard, and the thing for me is the fact he's playing Brighton, and I think it will just be
a little bit motivation.
Yeah, a little bit more motivation, and also to bring on Martinelli, because it's not about who starts doesn't mean that they're going to finish, and the chances are Martinelli will finish.
Okay, I'm getting into some of the super chats again. Manav says, for me, it was a 7 out of 10 window. The problem for fans is that the window was boring for Arsenal, but I call this an effective window. We don't have the shiniest toys, but the toys are for boys and not for men. I like that.
No,
I 100% agree with you.
100% agree. It's all about strengthening the squad for me.
Yeah.
But
That's a great super chat, man.
It is excellent, because what he's saying is that the people that don't get, they're not excited. It's that they want this shiny new toy, which isn't what football's about. It's not about signing a £100 million striker if it doesn't quite fit, and if commercially you can't get into it. It's about having the team that's going to win the league at the end of the season.
Okay, Sonny says Osimhen wanted over £350,000 a week, which, by the way, that deal to Chelsea fell through. And so did Tony. It's madness. We can't afford it. These fans are delusional, and we need to get back to reality. Avinab says Zinni is effectively our left-sided midfielder. Well, we'll see if he comes on in that midfield area, but he does play there for Ukraine. Pablo says, great window. Raheem, free loan. We cut wages. Genius.
If Arsenal go and win the league, Rob, it's a great window.
Yeah, exactly.
That's as simple as that.
If they don't.
As simple as that. Yeah.
Tom says 4 players in, 11 out, with additional Champions League games and ambition to go further in cups. We've made a mistake and it will hurt with injuries. Constantine says people forget we exited the cups early in the last few seasons, and there are 2 extra Champions League games. We needed another striker. Jesus and Partey are injury prone. Shaman says, Shannon. Shannon says, talk about the bench with only 3 first team injuries. Only 3 first teamers on the bench. That on the bench is Kivior. Well, on the bench was Kivior, senior players, Kivior, Calafiori, Zinchenko, Jorginho, and Martinelli. That's 5. First teamers, and then you've got Lewis Skelly, Wandieri. Weren't we all complaining and saying that Arteta's not giving these kids a chance?
Now he's giving them
now
a
he
chance.
gives them a chance. Now
They've
it's a
got
problem.
a great opportunity. They're going to play in the cup competitions, and it'd be good to see. I think Wandieri gets some minutes today if we're doing well. I think these kids have got to be given the opportunity. They've got an opportunity now to be in the squad today. And whenever the League Cups are against Bolton, that is when they've got a performance.
Yeah,
it's no good.
It's no good coming in the year and we go out. Yeah. So
they've got to come in. There's pressure on those kids now. Yeah. Do you know what? That's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, keep the likes coming in. We've got only 620 likes, but nearly just under 10,000 of you watching live. So please like this video. Avishak says, big fan of AFTV. Big up Robbie and the team. Supporting Arsenal for 24 years. Ignore the social media madness. Trust in Arteta. He will revive Sterling. This is our year. J.A. says, Julian is saying his girlfriend is stronger than him.
No, I didn't say it. It was the complete opposite. I said is that.
Oh, you did. You said because you said she'd open the can. You can't open it.
No, because
she's stronger than you.
She said that.
I know what you're on about.
She said that. I know what you're on about. I loosened it up in the same way as Martinelli loosened up Villa.
Yeah.
No, well, then why didn't you just open it then? If you loosen it, why not just open it?
Because I'd used up all my strength to get it to the stage where she just had to go like that.
Well, mate, you're right. I know exactly what you mean.
Makes her smarter than you as well, doesn't it? He done all the hard work. She came in and got the glory. Cal's Corner says we should reward players who consistently perform with starts. Trossard's performance was not a one-off. He's consistently been better since last season.
He played really well against Bayer Leverkusen, by the way.
Yeah.
He deserves to start. He does deserve to start.
Christian says, when was Martinelli's last good game? Let me know. Keep thinking.
No, I know what it was.
Again says, is this bench supposed to push City
in LA against Man United when he scored that goal?
Ika Gang says, is this bench supposed to push City a long season? Well, listen, there's injuries on that bench. But it's still a strong bench for me. You still got on that bench Calafiori, Zinchenko, Jorginho, Wanyeri, Martinelli. That's still a strong bench. The only thing I would say about the bench is striking-wise, there's not a striking option there because Jesus is injured. But it's a strong bench.
Martinelli's
strong
a striking
enough.
option.
Martinelli's a striking option.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Martinelli's...
And
Martinelli can play as a striker as well, and it's an option to bring off the bench up front. And Wanyeri's
and Arteta said that he's back in some sort of training, Jesus.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he'll be back in the next.
He'll be back after the
But listen,
international
if we go to Spurs and Manchester City with that bench, then you've got to ask questions on it because
It's not that bad. We could be.
But this is, your bench is not always going to be perfect, right? You get injuries.
But when you go those games, Robbie, I expect
exactly. But I don't look on that bench
if
right
he's
now.
not, they should have gone and got a striker in this week.
So you have 3 strikers. How many strikers? How many?
Well, you have Eddie on it every week.
You just said Man City. How many strikers on Man City?
I don't want to worry about Man City.
No,
but if we're playing them, you will be worried about them.
I want a bench strong.
1 second. The guy's comparing the benches, right? So how many strikers on Man City's bench?
I don't know, but I want 2.
I
want 2 on our.
I'm asking the question again. How many strikers? I want someone to answer me that, right? Because that's what the criticism is. How many strikers? Because we've got 2 strikers, yeah.
No,
we got 2. We got 2 strikers, Havertz and Jesus. Jesus is injured at the moment. Jesus is striker.
You're talking about the bench,
right?
Yeah,
I know. So he's not there at the moment. He's injured. But I'm saying, even when everybody's fit, how many strikers on Manchester City's bench?
With a definite one, which is Haaland. And
No, he's not on the bench. On the bench.
And Alvarez is not there anymore.
They've got that.
They don't have no striker. They have no. He's the Savio's a winger.
He's a winger.
So just like Martinelli's a winger.
Just like
So they've got no striker on their bench.
So it's 2 against 1.
When the guy's saying about Man City, right?
I'm not worried about Man City.
I'm saying to the guy I was asking. I know. I was asking the question.
When we go to Tottenham, I want 2 strikers on my bench.
So do I.
Thank you. That's all it, isn't it?
But
we've only got 1 today.
We have only got 1, but I'm saying the City have got 1. They've got none for the whole season because they haven't brought in a striker to replace Julian Alvarez. So when
they've got other things on their bench.
So if we, there's Martinelli.
They've got Grealish on their bench. They've got
we've got Sterling on our bench.
We've got Martinelli on there today, and as you're saying there,
they've
right?
got Gundogan.
When everybody comes back, we'll have Sterling on the bench. We'll have Martinelli would be on the bench. We'd have Jesus on the bench.
I'll tell you
It's
something.
actually a strong
It's
squad.
a very strong squad.
I'll tell you something.
I don't get it.
I'll tell you something. With anybody going on about a lot of stuff, have a look at Real Madrid's bench every week. Right, it's not that strong. Right,
So you've just contradicted yourself.
No, their 11 is right, but their 11 is strong and all that, very, very strong. But their bench is a little bit weaker. But they're in a league where it's not as competitive like when we have. Like Brighton is a very, very difficult game. So it's every game for us is a little bit different. If Real Madrid come into the Premier League, they'd struggle with that squad. They would. That's how it is. But what I'm saying is you need to have 2 strikers on that bench.
Yeah,
now,
so
next game, Sterling will be there. So you'll have 2 attacking options.
Yes.
Today,
so
we've only got
contradicted
1
yourself.
attacking option.
But I'm saying...
Now, what happens if Havertz gets injured in the first 5 minutes?
Bring in Martinelli.
Right, you bring Martinelli on, and then we go a goal down. What do we do today to bring that on?
Yeah, but
we haven't got it.
and that's because of the amount of injuries there are.
That's
But
it.
I'm saying Manchester City, what if
Well,
I don't get...
I don't care about it. I'm saying
I know you don't care about
Man
it, but
City,
a guy...
I want 2 strikers on my
I'm
bench.
not saying it to you.
But
I'm
if they're
saying...
injured,
I'm
you
listening
can't have
to...
them.
You're not listening.
I'm not listening
there's a
because
guy who put a question in, he's saying that our bench, he's literally comparing it to Man City's bench and saying that that's why we should have went and got another striker. I'm saying to him, bro, how many strikers on Man City's bench? They didn't. They had Julian Alvarez. They've sold him. They haven't replaced him. So,
But how are you going to get? You've got to get over Man City.
This is then. Yeah, but we've got 2. It's just that one's injured at the moment. And when in the next game, if all of those guys are back, you got him there. You got Sterling there on that bench and Martin.
bench.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I don't.
Well, I don't know why people are going on
and
about
at many stages this season, whether you be Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, whoever, you're going to have injuries even to your backup players.
Of course you are.
That's how it goes.
So
we've just lost our player.
So there's nothing to be upset about.
All right, let me.
Who's upset about it?
You are.
I'm not upset. Listen,
let me get
this
to
right. No, hold on. Listen, I'm not upset about it. All I'm saying is, at this moment in time, because of now we've got Sterling. If under normal circumstances we'd have Sterling today and Martinelli, I'd be happy with that.
Yep.
I am saying, right, and I will be upset if we go to Tottenham and Man City, the two massive games, with only one striker on that bench, which we won't have because hopefully, unless Sterling gets injured, we'll have two. We need two for that game.
Okay.
That's all I'm
Let me
saying.
get into wait. I've got to get into some of these super chats. They're mounting up on me. Amston says Martinelli is consistently putting in stinker after stinker. We all slated Eddie for scoring 5 goals last season and being mediocre. Well, Martinelli only had 6 goals. Why is he getting away with it? Interesting.
Good point. He's got to step up, hasn't he?
Yeah. Budwalo said, well, do you want to answer that one, Julian?
I've already answered it a number of times. It was, so when he came back from the not international break, the mid-season break, and he came on, he scored those 2 goals against Crystal Palace. He then went on a run when Arsenal were at their most potent, when we had the 2 6-0s.
Yeah, he was pivotal to that.
He was very unfortunate. He got I won't go into who injured him because I've made that joke a few times, but he was out the team for a while, and things just conspired against him. That the player that plays in his position.
Against Eddie.
Yeah,
the amount of stick he got.
But then you're looking over a longer time period with Eddie. With Martinelli, you're looking at one season, actually one half of the season where it didn't really perform, which was injury led, and also the player that plays in his position that he competes with was having a brilliant time, and he just didn't get back into the team. Didn't get consistency.
Never slagged off Eddie, by the way.
I didn't slag off Eddie.
So he just criticised. He's not, and he's
Budwala. Okay, Budwala says, "What's happening with Tierney? Tierney's still here. Of course, he's injured at the moment." Akir says, "People speak like they want a bench for a bench." That's true. I love that. They want a bench for a bench. The window was effective. Simple as that. It's true. A bench for a bench. And then none of them. I heard Pep Guardiola saying that yesterday. He goes, when you have a massive squad, he goes, you then get loads of unhappy players because he goes, there'll be players that if everybody's fit, they're not going to play at all for the season, which we saw.
I'm going to disagree with you. You've got Connor, 4 extra games in the Champions League. You've got FA Cup games. You've got League Cup games. Everybody should get that.
You need a. But what he was saying is like when you have these huge squads, he goes, you just get loads of unhappy players.
I wouldn't want to be in Chelsea's squad, would you?
No.
Yeah. Connor says, great discussions and love the podcast you all do. Also, Robbie, you've got a really shiny head. He says, keep it up, guys. Brian Gonzalez says, here's a question. What if Sterling cooks and gets 15 plus goals and 10 plus assists and helps us to win the league? Cannot be having an option to buy. That might haunt us. Well, I'm sure then they'd be able to work out something in buying him. Guys, how long is Jesus' injury? You were saying that you've heard he's going to be back after the international break, right?
Well, that's what Arteta was alluding to. He's doing some sort of work now. So
Max says, I don't know if I'm gonna. Should I say this one? Well, actually, no. He's saying if your girlfriend can play up top, right? I just have to rephrase that. Can play up top in Arsenal's team. Seeing that she's so strong.
Right. She's not so strong. We've already established it was me that was strong. I just made her look stronger.
Ben Shack says, Man City won the league without a striker. We haven't won anything yet. So we cannot compare, right? So
they play a different way now, Man City. Yeah. Man City have got Haaland, haven't they? Right? Yeah. Now, is there a better striker than Haaland out there?
No.
So if you go and buy the next best thing, you're not going to beat Man City. Like they've got the better striker. So you've got to look to do it a different way, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, that's a good point. I like that. Yeah.
And that's how we're trying to do.
Then that contradicts your 2 on the bench strikers. If you got to do it a different way.
No, I'm saying, listen, how I say about strikers is if you go, sometimes Arsene Wenger used to chuck on 4 different strikers to get the result and all that. Sometimes you need that. It's, what I like about it is the option. You're looking at, I even felt last week against Aston Villa, once he brought on Trossard, he's looking around thinking, what, there ain't a lot that he can do. I just think you just need options off of that bench.
I mean, you can do something different in the last few minutes. And I remember under George Graham, we used to do this quite a lot. He'd put Steve Bold into the air and they'd lump the ball forward and see what comes up. You could do the same with Saliba. It doesn't have to be a traditional striker off the bench. You can play a different way.
All right. SJM says, why did we get rid of Ramsdale for Neto? Listen, Ramsdale...
Because Ramsdale wanted to play football.
He wants to play football. He's not going to play as a number 2. So he's always going to move
Too
on.
Good for a number 2.
Yeah.
Too good.
And so, and Woodsy says, I watched Judges play. He's the very image of Martinelli. I don't think so.
He wasn't when I watched him.
Who's that? Woodsy? No, I love Woodsy. If it's the
Woodsy.
Woodsy I know, he's a top guy. Like,
Oh, so he has actually seen you play.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I've seen him play.
So,
Was he like Martinelli?
Well, I've told you what happened. He came on the team.
well, should we
as well.
talk about yesterday's conversation? Like, I mean, we could go on that. Like, bumped into one of his old managers yesterday. Like,
Oh, I'm interested in
Yeah,
that. What did the old manager say?
oh, well, he said to me, like,
He knew
Julian,
nothing about football.
He went, Julian, you could be a very, very good player if you had ability.
He's
Julian was, yeah.
no, I didn't say that. He was a friend of my dad's.
Good old Melvin, I love him. I've seen him on a train today, like, I'm going to buy him a drink later on.
It was a friend of my dad's, and I was 17 years old, and I played a game. And he made me sub, which I wasn't too happy about because I was far better than the standard. And then
I want to be on the bench.
no,
now.
and then he didn't want to bring me on.
That's not what he told me
said,
today. He said
I
the
remember,
actual words
I remember,
were, don't listen to
no,
Julian, he's
I remember.
delusional,
I remember.
is
He
what
did
he
not
said.
say that. You're
I
lying.
swear, I get him on the show.
No,
He actually
he
said
did not
that.
say that.
He did,
I
he
tell
said
you what
today.
happened. I told you what happened yesterday. He wouldn't bring me on, not because I didn't have the ability, because he said I was too small and he was worried that I'd get hurt because it was a bit of a rough game. He didn't want to be telling my dad that he was responsible for me getting hurt, which was nonsense.
Another thing that Julian said, we was out with Mark for dinner because we was laughing about this, and he said I was in the C team, right? The C team, right?
Yeah, I was
I didn't know
17.
you had a
It
C
was
team.
men's
He said,
football.
right, and he said he was in the C team and he was in the B team. And I said to Melvin today on the train, Julian said, yeah, he should have actually been in the A team. And he laughed. He said he had no chance. Absolutely no
You told us you were
chance.
good at football.
I am.
Not according to
I
Melvin.
am.
no.
C team.
He would
I
be
was
good if he
17.
had
It was-
ability.
I've never heard of a C team. B team I've heard of. I've never heard of a C team.
There
I
was
didn't know
a
it
C team. You started
teams
off.
existed?
It was the best. It was the best team in Maccabi League at that time, and there was about 6 divisions. And I was 17. It was men's football. Most people were 18 minimum, and I started off in the C team. And then Melvin said I'll come along for the B team, and I thought, okay, I can play in the B team. And then he wouldn't play me, and then I refused to go again.
Attitude, terrible.
It's terrible. Terrible, like. Threw it in, like, threw the towel in, like, you know.
Bottled it.
Bottled it.
Carl Regal says should move Nelly to backup number 9 and get a left winger in January. And Unk says, Robbie, can we get a Sami Nasri reaction? Right? If we win the game, definitely. Listen, let me just run through the lineups right here once again. Raya in goal, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Urian Timber, Thomas Partey, Rice and Odegaard, Saka, Trossard and Kai Havertz as our striker. On the bench, Setford, Kivior, Calafiori, Zinchenko, Lewis Skelly, Jorginho, Saladin, Wanyeri and Gabriel Martinelli. That is the Arsenal team to play Brighton and Hove Albion today. It's a 12:30 kickoff UK time. We've got a watch along that is happening to the game. Is going to be massive, so make sure you join us back here in about half an hour's time for the big watch along today. Big game for Arsenal. Can Arsenal go into that international break on maximum points? Get the weekend off to a great start for us after a decent window. Let's see. We're going to find out. I want to thank you, Lee. Thank you also to Julian. We're going to be at the
Are
game.
we doing predictions?
Oh, I haven't done predictions, but we're going to be at the game, of course. So make sure you check us if you're at the game. Afterwards, we'll be speaking to fans and getting their opinions. But just before we go, well done, Julian. I nearly missed that. It's all the revelations about your,
It's called the lies.
The C
The
team.
lies.
Well, you did say you were in
No,
the C
I started in the C team, but
So you was in the C team.
Okay, I started. All right, I was in the
Right,
C
so
team. All right.
lies, by the
Yeah,
way.
all right.
It's not a lie. You
Yeah,
just
but
said
it was
you was
lies
in the
what
C
he
team.
said about what Melvin must have said on train, or Melvin was lying.
No, well, this is what I'm quite happy to
Okay.
pull Melvin again when we see him later.
I'm sure
All
we'll
right,
get this
our
confirmed.
prediction are 2-0
We'll get
to
this
Arsenal.
confirmed on the Invincible podcast. But you're saying 2-0 to Arsenal.
2-0 to Arsenal.
I agree. I'm going 2-0.
2-0. I've been saying 2-1. You guys are starting to persuade me on a clean sheet. All right, let me go with you 2-0. Let's keep a clean sheet. 2-0 to Arsenal. Let's hope that comes true, or even better. But thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to check us out for Matchday Live, our big watch-along coming up very, very soon. Arsenal versus Brighton.
I'm honoured and pleased to have an Arsenal legend in the building, David Seaman, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Dean, can you hear me?
No way.
It was larger than life in every way, and he was a hero, not just with the fans, but with the players as well. They all loved him.
He was that good that in training, Steve Seabold and Tony Adams, that he would embarrass them and they would try and kick him to slow him down a bit, and they couldn't catch him.
The ponytail on the head.
I was born with a tash. I remember seeing an Arsenal team celebrating getting fourth, and I was like, oh,
Talk to them,
dropped
David.
quite a little way here. You know, we've done what we did. It's their time to go and create their own history.